Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Player Zone YouTube channel. And welcome to our Champions League quarter-final second leg predictions. Massive games to come for this midweek here. We've obviously got that close game between Bayern and Inter to look forward to. Can Villa turn it around versus PSG at home? And then the big one and the big question on a lot of people's lips is, can Real Madrid and Carlo Ancelotti do it again and make a dramatic comeback versus Arsenal? A lot to be excited about in this midweek set of games. Best time of the year for domestic football fans. I feel like when there's Champions League and it's quarter-final time, it's serious business. Everyone is watching these games, so it's definitely a lot to be excited about. With that being said, ladies and gents, let's now jump straight into these quarter-final second leg predictions. We start at Villa Park. Aston Villa take on PSG. What a first leg. Really entertaining throughout. Aston Villa took the early lead, but PSG ending up winning that game 3-1, taking care of that home ground advantage. Now I have to go to Villa Park, where Aston Villa have been fantastic this season, unbeaten at home this season in the Champions League. They've scored 12 goals in their last 5 games, and they come off the back of a dominant 3-0 win with a rotated squad against Southampton in the Premier League. Confidence is with this side. We know Unai Emery loves European competitions. This will be a massive obstacle and hurdle to climb though for this Villa side here. When I look at this side, you saw what they did early on in that counter-attacking goal. Marcus Rashford and Morgan Rogers heavily involved. I think yet again, those two are going to be pivotal up top, whether it be Marcus Rashford playing down the middle or whether it be Ollie Watkins up there as well, and they commit numbers forward. They're going to have to be clinical in front of goal. Take your first chance like you did at the Parc des Princes, and then hope you can be much better defensively. And that's when it comes in, that back line there. Whoever plays are there, talk about Matty Cash, who got substituted at halftime. He needs to be much better, not get that early yellow card. Luca Digne as well. These are very attacking fullbacks alongside that centre-back duo. Pau Torres will be in there. They need to be much better defensively. You got to keep PSG at bay for as long as possible. And yes, they're going to commit numbers for to try and score that first goal, but it's important they don't get vulnerable and got at in transition. So massive job for that back four. And then importantly, up top, Marcus Rashford and Morgan Rogers are clinical. They take the first chance of the game. They cut the margin to 1 goal at home. You have belief then. This PSG side is flying in terms of confidence. You have to knock them down a belief or a bit of a confidence rank by taking that first goal and getting that crowd involved. For me, looking at PSG, they had a weekend off, an extended rest for them. It's 7 consecutive wins in all competitions. They're in fantastic form. Obviously, wrapped up the league title over a week ago now. And it's pretty obvious for them. That midfield three yet again. Vitinha, Fabian Ruiz and João Neves were fabulous versus Liverpool. Even better, I thought, in that first leg versus Aston Villa. They dominated the centre of the park. I touched on it going into that first leg. Aston Villa had to compete in there, had to make it difficult for the midfield three, but they just roamed around. They controlled the pace of the game. They controlled the momentum. They kept PSG in the front foot, and they didn't give Aston Villa a sniff. They were so composed in the football. They were not wasteful, and it helped PSG dominate that game of football. I think they'll be pivotal yet again. If they can own that centre of the park, if they can take the sting out of the game with controlled possession, if they can win those 50-50 battles, all of a sudden Aston Villa, they look a bit toothless going forward, and that's when PSG can get at Aston Villa, whether it be after an extended build-up or potentially catch them out in transition when they commit so many numbers forward to try and score that goal. And then I think, as I said, Desiree Doué, Kvaratskhelia Kvaratskhelia up top. In transition, we know Aston Villa want that first goal. If it gets later in the game, more spaces open up, those two players with their pace and their direct running can cause all sorts of problems for Aston Villa and potentially put the game to bed if they score first in this game here. So massive gain for those two up top as well. How do I see this game going? I think it's going to be competitive throughout. I think it's one of the more entertaining quarter-final ties. I just see Aston Villa clawing back a 2-goal margin. I've gone with a 2-2 draw in this game here. I think it'll be a bit of a goal fest back and forth, but Aston Villa not having enough to get over the line across the two legs. PSG going through 5-3 on aggregate for me. We're off to Dortmund as Borussia Dortmund take on Barcelona. Obviously a massive, mammoth task and hill to climb for Borussia Dortmund this game here, trailing 4-0 after a fantastic second half of Barcelona and a dynamic front three performance from them in that first leg there. They dominated that game over the most periods of time, and more importantly, they were clinical in the final third and took their chances when it fell to them, and that was the difference. Dortmund entered this game after a better performance, 2-2 draw versus Bayern Munich. But again, it was a counter-attacking, pragmatic type performance, which they cannot implement in this game here. They're chasing the game here versus Barcelona. No clean sheet, however, in their last 8 games. Makes it look like a very uphill task if Dortmund want to be successful in this overall tie. For me, it's pretty obvious. Much better clinical edge up top from Sergio Guirassy and Karim Adeyemi will be vital for them to get this result here. Guirassy missing 2 or 3 really gettable chances for his standards, and considering his form this season, he looked a little bit more involved versus Bayern Munich on the weekend, but they need him at his tip-top best, and they need Karim Adeyemi at his dynamic best with his pace to get in behind and potentially stretch this Barcelona back line that often are not stretched, especially in transition when they dominate possession in La Liga and such. So massive game for Karim Adeyemi to utilise that pace and to try and potentially offset, which Barcelona do so well. Looking at other areas of the park, I think Kobel and Anton, they were heroes on the weekend versus Bayern Munich. They're going to have to be central yet again to the result. They're going to have to commit forward. They're going to have to attack, and it's going to leave spaces at the back. So Anton covering off, using his ability to make those last-ditch type challenges, and Kobel in goal, making heroic saves and keeping them in games like he did on the weekend versus Bayern Munich will be pivotal. Looking at Barcelona, they're able to grind out a 1-0 win on the weekend away at Leganés. And that's sort of the theme of their season, and continue to keep winning and don't often drop games of football. 24 games unbeaten. They've only lost once away from home in the Champions League this season. And I think for me, Pedri and De Jong are going to be key for this side at the core, the cog of this Barcelona unit, making it tick in midfield. Not being wasteful in possession, keeping Barcelona on the front foot. We know what the front three will do. And then obviously at the back as well, Pau Kubasi and Martinez at the back. They have been unstoppable this season, and they're going to have to be at their best yet again to keep Borussia Dortmund from getting on a bit of a run. I don't see them turning this game around and scoring 3 or 4 in a row because of how good those 2 centre-backs have been this season. And that's why I don't see Dortmund causing Barcelona much problems. I think Barcelona actually extend their lead in this game here. They win this one 3-1, and they win the overall tie 7-1 for me on aggregate. Our first Wednesday night game is Inter Milan, who host Bayern Munich in what is the closest contested quarter-final tie so far. Inter coming into this game after a fantastic away performance, bringing that 2-1 lead here to the San Siro. And job's not done though for this side here. Yes, they've been fantastic in recent times. A recent 3-1 win over the weekend in Serie A. It's 10 goals scored in their last 5 games, 12 games unbeaten in all competitions. It's all ticking for Inter right now, but they're going up against a fierce opposition in Bayern Munich. And I think similar to the first game, they're not going to want to control a lot of the possession. They want to sit in and absorb pressure. But when they have the opportunity to go and play, I think the midfield three are going to be pivotal yet again. Hakan Çalhanoğlu, Henrik Mkhitaryan and Nicolo Barella were fantastic versus Bayern Munich. And simply put, I think they outworked and outclassed the midfield combination of Leon Goretzka and Joshua Kimmich, which you can not often say for that Bayern central midfield duo. But I often say this Inter Milan midfield three is superb. They complement each other. I think they're going to be so important in this game here in controlling the speed of the game. If Inter want to play slow, this midfield three can play slow. If they want to get at Bayern in transition, or they want to play quickly off turnover, they can do that here as well. And I think that fluidity and the ability to adapt and be malleable in a game is why this midfield three is so important. They were so great in defending and protecting that back five versus Bayern in the away leg. In this home leg, they might have more chance in possession to go and show what they're all about. I just think the ability and how they complement each other in this midfield three makes them a big difference maker in this game here. And then obviously the dynamic duo up top of Thuram and Martinez have been fantastic in recent games. They're back to complementing each other. They're back both looking fit. Obviously Martinez gets a fantastic goal in that first leg, pouncing, being that striker, has the instincts of a striker inside the box, bit of a fox in the box, and it showed getting him on the back of the net, score one on the weekend as well. He's in fine form. Thuram's that hard worker that will press from the front and offset that Bayern backline. And considering how out of form the two Bayern centre-halves are, there's a real chance for these two to get in control of this game, score a few early goals, and put this tie to bed. So those will be massive yet again. Looking at Bayern, they got a hard-fought 2-2 draw on the weekend in Der Klassiker versus Borussia Dortmund. However, 2 wins, 2 draws, and 1 loss in their last 5 games shows the problems at the moment at the club. Very inconsistent. lacking some big names, obviously Manuel Neuer being the biggest of them all, Jamal Musiala as well due to injury, and it just looks like a bit of an unbalanced side at this current point in time, especially with Dale Upamecano missing as well. Undoubtedly, Harry Kane and Michael Olise, their connection will have to be telepathic yet again if they want to get a foothold in this game here. Bayern always look at their best when Olise is creating for Harry Kane. There was not much of that in the first leg. Olise was trying his best, but it was far from his most consistent or influential performances, and Harry Kane had a few half chances, but again, wasn't his clinical best on the weekend, and neither was he last time out in the first leg. So they're going to need these two at their tip-top best to get the best of this robust and really defensive back five. And then for me, massive improvements have to come from Kim Min-jae and Eric Dyer. They were poor in the weekend versus Borussia Dortmund. They were far from their best in that first leg versus Inter Milan. They're going to be really switched on, win your aerial duels, and most importantly, be physical with these two centre forwards that Inter Milan have. If you can be physical and put them off their game, there's a chance that you can keep a clean sheet, and that's the foundation for a winning result here. With that being said, I think once again it's going to be really, really tight between these two sides. You're talking 1%ers, and I think Inter Milan do those 1%ers better, considering they have basically their full allowment and allocatment of players. Bayern obviously missing a few key names, and as such, I don't see them getting over the line here. Another Inter 2-1 win, meaning they go through 4-2 in aggregate and make it to another Champions League semi-final. Our final game is the big one. Real Madrid host Arsenal in what is going to be a massive clash of titans in this one here. Arsenal coming into this game in position 1A after that fantastic, dominant 3-0 win at the Emirates. It is basically tied over for most teams. I said it in my reaction video though, outside of Real Madrid, because in Wednesday nights, Champions League nights, under the lights, when their back's against the wall, that's when Real Madrid play their best football. That's when Carlo Ancelotti does his best coaching, I feel like. And it's going to be another massive game, another massive obstacle to climb over for Real Madrid yet again here. They were able to grind out a 1-0 win on the weekend versus Alaves. They've conceded, however, 11 goals in their last 5 games, only winning 2 games in that time. They're coming as Alaves and Leganes, so haven't been in their best form. There's pressure on this side to perform, especially considering this season was supposed to be the year, bringing in Kylian Mbappe and bolstering that attack. But you feel like in this game here, it's going to be key moments. It's going to be momentum, and it's going to be mindset that's going to win this game of football. And that's why it's not going to be the I guess, obvious top players. I feel like Federico Valverde, it's going to be big in this game here. Really poor in the first leg for his high standards. Was forced out to play right back. I expect Vasquez to come into right back, and they'll put Valverde in the centre of the park to control the game, to be a threat from that long shot position, to make things happen in the final third, and be that connecting piece that can speed up the play. He was massive in the weekend in Camavinga's goal versus Alaves, with his ability to give a 1-2 and give and go and keep moving in the build-up, and that facilitated the goal. And I think he'll be important yet again to try and get the better of this Arsenal back line with his passing array, but also his work with and without the football as well. So he's going to be massive yet again. And I feel like it's time for Bellingham. He showed patches against Arsenal in the first leg with his physicality and his strength. He's a difference maker, right? Ability to control the ball, be that driving force for Madrid for midfield areas going forward. He had a lot of moments in the run-in last year in the Champions League. I feel like he's got that sort of mould and that aura about him to do it yet again this year. Balls into the box, he could be a threat for a headed opportunity. You know Arsenal are going to sit in. They're going to sit in a low block, potentially 4 or 5 behind the football as a back 4 or back 5. So cross into the box is going to have to be a point of difference, ability to score and take something away from this really good, solid Arsenal defence. So him going forward and making late runs in the box to volley the ball home, to score, to head the ball home. There's so many different avenues to Jude Bellingham's game, and I feel like if it's going to happen, it's going to be down to someone like him who can change the momentum of this game here. So the 2 midfielders, Bellingham and Valverde, for me, key. Arsenal, they rotated heavy on the weekend. They drew 1-1 to Brentford, but all eyes have been on this game here. They're unbeaten in the last 9 games, and for me, the big stat, and it's being tossed around social media, last time they conceded 3 or more goals came in Christmas time 2023 when they just beat Luton 4-3. So it's been a long time since they conceded 3 or more goals, showing how good this back line is and showing how defiant Arsenal are defensively. That is their backbone, that is their calling card, and they're going to look to call to it yet again in this game here. Miles Lewis-Skelly, William Saliba. They were fantastic in their first leg, winning their individual battles. I looked at them yet again in an inexperienced or slightly rotated backline, especially with Gabriel missing, to be heavily important yet again to keep Real at arm's distance. You know, look at Miles Skelly to shut down a Rodrigo, to shut down Jude Bellingham, might drift down to a wide space as well. And then obviously for Saliba to keep Mbappe quiet again. Mbappe had few or far between chances. He had stuff created for him, but again, he always felt that perceived pressure with Saliba nearby and didn't make the most of the opportunities. Keep him quiet, frustrate him. Things start to fall apart for Real Madrid in the final third. So massive games for those two, the left back and the centre half. And then for me, Mikel Moreno could be the game, the decider, the difference maker. You know, his ability to drop into midfield and create a fourth body in there and be physical when Arsenal are without the football. But then when they go forward, across into the box, a set piece, he might head home. He's a goal threat. He's been scoring goals so frequently for Arsenal. And I feel like for them, if they get one goal at any point in time across the 90 minutes, this game is over. And Mikel Moreno is going to be that avenue to goal. So he could be the guy, one, in helping defensively, creating an extra body as a striker, dropping into midfield, and then going forward, a set piece, a corner, a half chance. Moreno will look to try and score there. And if he does, this tie's over. It's so much on the line for Real Madrid. It's a uphill battle for Madrid. For Arsenal, they've done the hard work. You have to grind out the result now. I think it's important they don't go totally back into their shell. You sit in deep, the momentum, the pressure will all go in Real Madrid's way, and they'll be overwhelming for Arsenal. Arsenal need to still go and play out from the back when they can, keep control of the football when they can. If they go into their shell, Real Madrid topple them. If they have a good balance between low block, defensive, pragmatic stuff and also going to play and possession and using the wide spaces, they'll be all good. And I think it's going to be a real tight one. I think Madrid get into a fantastic start. We're going to extra time for me here. But I've got Arsenal going through just 3-1 in this game here, meaning they go through 4-3 on aggregate. But don't get me wrong, it is going to be a gigantic clash and a clash between two clubs desperate for Champions League semi-final appearances. But Arsenal get it done for me. With that being said, ladies and gents, that brings this prediction video to an end for the Champions League quarterfinal second leg. Massive games. Obviously, the big one, everyone will focus on Arsenal and Real Madrid. But can Inter Milan hold on, or can Bayern Munich topple them? A lot to be excited about. If you enjoyed the video, guys, smash a like on it. Subscribe to the Players Zone channel for more videos and content like this. And press that post notification bell so you know when you upload here on the channel. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. What are your predictions? Who are some of your key players? What are your thoughts on my predictions? Leave that in the comment section down below. Hope you enjoy these games. There's going to be massive games across all 4 of these games. Lots of storylines to be had, and I can't wait to go and watch them. With that being said, guys, I'll see you guys in the video very, very soon. Until next time. See you later.